Previously, in A Love Story in Disguise, we followed the journey of Princess Amara, who, in a desperate bid to escape a forced marriage, disguised herself as a commoner and fled her royal life. Taking on the name Mara, she found refuge in the village of Biposo, where she became a beloved healer, earning the trust of the villagers and the respect of the rebel leader, Kwame. As rumors of rebellion against the oppressive king spread, Mara's life became entangled with the growing resistance. But all the while, she struggled to keep her true identity a secret, knowing that if it were revealed, everything she had built could come crashing down. Now, as tensions rise and the rebellion gains momentum, Mara's past threatens to catch up with her, and the stakes have never been higher. Will her secret remain hidden, or will the truth change everything? This is where our story continues. The days in Biposo had grown increasingly tense. Mara, once a simple healer in the eyes of the villagers, had become a beacon of hope and strength. But as her influence grew, so too did the whispers of doubt and suspicion. Mara's heart ached with the weight of the secret she carried, knowing that if the truth were revealed, everything she had worked for could crumble in an instant. Despite the growing unrest, there was one person in the village who made the burden a little easier to bear. Kwame, the fearless rebel leader, had become Mara's closest confidant. Together, they shared the dream of a free and just kingdom. But for Mara, every moment with Kwame was bittersweet, for she knew that her secret could destroy the bond they had built. "You've given them hope, Mara. The people look to you, and they see a future worth fighting for," Kwame said, his voice filled with quiet admiration. "But what if they knew who I really am? Would they still see that future?" Mara thought, with her heart heavy. "I never imagined I would find such purpose here, among the people. But there are things I've kept hidden. Things that could change everything," Mara admitted, her voice trembling slightly. Kwame turned to face her, his eyes searching hers for answers, but Mara could not bear to reveal the truth, not yet. The fear of losing the trust she had earned, the bond she had with Kwame, was too great. "Hope is a powerful thing, Mara. But it's built on trust. If there's something you're hiding, you must decide whether to share it, or let it become your downfall," Kwame said, his tone gentle but firm. As the bond between Mara and Kwame grew stronger, so too did the doubts of the villagers. They had begun to notice the way she spoke, the grace in her movements, traits that seemed out of place for a commoner. The whispers started innocently enough, but soon they spread like wildfire, reaching every corner of the village. "She's not like us. Have you noticed how she carries herself? And the way she talks, so refined," one villager whispered, his eyes narrowing in suspicion. "Perhaps she's not who she claims to be. But why would someone hide their true identity? What could she be running from?" another villager added, fanning the flames of doubt. Mara's heart raced as she listened, the fear of exposure gnawing at her. The village she had come to love, the people she had sworn to protect, would they turn against her if they knew the truth? That night, as the village slept, Kwame came to Mara's hut. His face was a mask of concern and determination. He had heard the whispers too, and he could no longer ignore the growing doubts among the people. The time had come to confront the woman he had grown to trust, to admire. "Mara, people are starting to ask questions. They see things that don't add up. I need to know the truth. Who are you really?" Kwame asked, his voice steady but laced with a quiet desperation. Mara's heart pounded in her chest. She wanted to tell him, to finally unburden herself of the secret she had carried for so long. But the words caught in her throat. She couldn't bear the thought of losing Kwame's trust, of shattering the hope she had built for the villagers. "I am who I've always been, someone who wants to help. But there are things I cannot reveal, not yet," Mara replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Kwame studied her for a long moment, his dark eyes searching hers for the answers she refused to give. Finally, He nodded, though the doubt lingered in his gaze. Then I would trust you, Mara. But remember, trust is a fragile thing. Once broken, it can never be fully repaired, Kwame said before turning to leave. As the door closed behind him, Mara felt a cold wave of dread wash over her. The walls she had built around her secret were beginning to crumble, and she knew that soon, everything would come crashing down. As the days passed, the tension in the village continued to rise. The rebellion was gaining momentum, and the king's forces were drawing near. The rebels knew that the coming battle could be their last stand. For Mara, it was a moment of reckoning. She could feel the weight of her secret pressing down on her, knowing that the time for hiding was running out. We strike at dawn. This would be our strongest stand yet. The king's forces are vast, but we have the element of surprise. We must be prepared for anything, Kwame said, his voice steady and commanding. I must do everything I can to protect them. Even if it means revealing who I truly am, Mara thought, her heart heavy with the weight of her decision. But even as the rebels prepared for battle, a shadow of betrayal loomed over them. One of the villagers, driven by fear and desperation, had been secretly feeding information to the king's soldiers. That night, as the village lay in uneasy silence, the traitor led the king's soldiers through the darkened woods. The villagers, unaware of the danger that crept closer with every step, slept soundly, trusting that the morning would bring a new dawn of hope. Mara, lying restless in her bed, sensed that something was wrong. The stillness of the night felt too heavy, too quiet. Her instincts screamed at her to get up, to act. No, this can't be happening. I have to warn them, Mara thought, fear clawing at her insides. But it was too late. As Mara stepped outside, the first of the soldiers breached the village, their swords drawn, their faces set in cold determination. Chaos erupted as the villagers, startled from their sleep, scrambled to defend themselves. In the midst of the chaos, Mara fought bravely, her heart pounding as she tried to protect those she had grown to love. But as she clashed with a soldier, his blade caught the edge of her headscarf, tearing it away and revealing the face that had been hidden for so long. It's the princess. The princess has been leading the rebellion, the soldier cried out, his voice filled with incredulity. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. The rebels, who had followed her with unwavering loyalty, now looked at her with a mixture of awe and betrayal. Kwame, fighting nearby, turned to see Mara's unveiled face, his eyes widening in shock. Amara, why didn't you tell me? Kwame whispered, his voice barely audible above the sounds of battle. In that moment, Mara knew that the truth she had fought so hard to conceal was now laid bare for all to see. There was no more hiding, no more deception. But with the truth came a new kind of freedom, a freedom that could either destroy them all or lead them to victory. The rebels, inspired by Mara's bravery and her true identity, fought with renewed vigor. But the battle was far from over, and the stakes had never been higher. With her identity revealed, will Mara be able to lead the rebels to victory? Can they survive the king's wrath and turn the tide of the rebellion? Stay tuned for the next chapter, where the final battle will determine the fate of the kingdom. This is not just a story of a princess, it is a legend of Africa.